There is an object hidden in the sky. It has been here many times. In ancient times, it was known as the Phoenix. It is approaching perihelion. It is located at 23.5 degrees north of the ecliptic and is presently in descending node. On May 15th, 2040, it will return. On May 16th, our world will be a very different place. Imagine a scenario where the hidden elite have built immense underground facilities. Powered by petroleum products they can acquire endlessly from subterranean coal seams and drilling. All infrastructure being run on electricity by fossil fuels. Now, do underground cities exist? Yes. Can fossil fuels be easily obtained without emerging to the surface? Yes. Can fossil fuels provide power to generate electricity? Yes. Now imagine a scenario where think tanks funded by these hidden elites spent years analyzing the world's secretly preserved ancient and historical texts. Every recorded event is entered into the program. Data from lost texts, books taken by agents of the elite, authors killed and made to disappear. These think tanks with this data run simulations and projections from different historical periods and discover that in the near future an event will take place that is unstoppable. They discover the return of the vapor canopy, the Phoenix. This induces a deeper study, more think tanks, an assessment of the tens of thousands of archaeological findings that never made it to the public arena. The elite discover that the canopy alters human DNA, allowing for rapid healing, longer lives, holding the breath for long periods of time. The canopy produces a world without rain, but very humid. A mist that will water the surface every evening and morning. The sun will vanish in the dark violet sky by day, but at night the canopy is clear, magnifying both the moon and the stars. Under this thick mesosphere, there is no wind, and oxygen density is more than 60% what it is today. Now imagine the elite begin preparing to reestablish their dominance over a post-cataclysmic world full of people who suffer the loss of their infrastructures. Some cities are still untouched, but by that event date, they had been corralled by the elite into going 100% solar. But the canopy blocks this light. They rely on their wind turbines, but the new sky is still and heavy. They change over their transportation to electric, but the fossil fuel industry is ruined and cannot produce generators for power. Now imagine that the elite have been having their bodies frozen in cryo chambers to be revived at a future time when DNA will respond different to different stimuli. And imagine mountainsides opening their titanium blast doors to unleash armored divisions of super soldiers equipped with gear and weaponry specifically designed for this vapor canopy world. Tanks, APCs, helos, drones, aircraft, all still perfectly operable using the very fossil fuels the elite brainwashed the rulers of nations into believing was destroying the earth. Imagine that I'm describing the world just years before the great lithospheric displacement event of 3895 BC. The pole shift of the Phoenix phenomenon that reset a powerfully advanced civilization so abruptly that the survivors regarded the very next year as year one of a whole new world. The pole shift I'm talking about was year one of the pre-flood world, the 1656 years in Genesis, which began when God told mankind to be fruitful, multiply, and replenish the earth. to fill it again.
So guys, the story of the Sumerians and their beliefs about the Anuna is critical to our understanding of what is unfolding today. When we remove the primitive frames of reference, the childlike descriptions, and we analyze the core common denominators left to us in these astounding ancient cuneiform documents, well, we're left with the description of a vast catastrophe that was predicted, and the vanishing of an advanced population that departed so they could survive it. We are left with the reappearance of these godlike bearded people who, after this disaster, resurfaced in two ways: from under a mountain and in fleets of ships from across the sea. Because the Anunnaki were called the children of Anu, the later Babylonians misinterpreted the originals in very old records of the Sumerians concerning when they were called by the logogram Anunnaki. This is Anuna of Earth. For there is no evidence that the word none, which Zechariah Sitchin and many of his ilk follow, ever meant heaven. This was merely traditional etymology leading the later Babylonian scribes to interpret the epithet of Anunnaki as offspring of heaven and earth, but that was never its original intent. I'm going to tell you what none meant and what it was a part of in the belief system, the older Sumerians. Sitchin touches upon it, but he just leaves it alone. So the Sumerian, it just didn't convey this meaning at all. The Sumerian word none is synonymous with Apsu, the Underworld, a common title used in many names. Apsu literally means the deep, as in the place in Sumerian records, an Anunnaki city called Nunkaiga, which means the city of the deep. It was recognized that the Anunnaki had an underworld city. Yeah, that is a game changer. The Sumerian underworld was thought to be filled with water, the fountains of the deep, and the idea and etymology can be traced back to Sanskrit as well, where we learn that the root ap in Apsu, the Babylonian Apsu, is in Sanskrit the word for water. It's the very earliest records that held that the Anunnaki came from the deep. And they weren't even called Anunnaki. That's the later Babylonians doing that. They were called the Anuna. The exact history of the Anuna is playing out today. The technologically advanced rulers and their families of various governments they're preparing underworld cities and manufacturing districts, whole subterranean oil refineries and food, weapons depots. This is all being done in preparation for the next big cataclysm. And they know when it is. They're not stupid. I didn't just find all this material over the years. I believe that many among the elite have never lost it. It's May 2040. In November 2046. I believe they'll ride the whole 6.5-year period out underground. So the Anuna had emerged from this underworld city in ancient times. This is the story of the Anunnaki. This is why Zechariah Sitchin's focus was in trying to convince the world in his Earth Chronicles series that the Anunnaki were from space. This is why his research and travels were funded by globalist elitists. This is why the media promotes the space race narrative perpetuated by the elitist organizations like NASA and SpaceX. This is why platforms like YouTube and others push channels and content creators who promote the ideas of space being an option for colonization. It's all smoke and mirrors. Everything is designed for you to keep looking up until you see the actual appearance of the Phoenix. And it's not going to be real soon. We have 18 more years before it comes, and you have to understand, Neptune and Uranus are gigantic planets, and they're in our own solar system, and you can't see them with the naked eye. They're too far out there. So you have to apply that same logic. We're not going to see Phoenix until it's almost too late. By that time, every underground facility will be sealed and packed with provisions and all the elements of infrastructure so these people can ride out the storm that will be unleashed upon the surface. My friends, we have 18 more years. But they are going to preoccupy us with smoke and mirrors and bread and circuses long before then. In both the description box and the comments section below, you will find my personal email. Ask me any questions. You have video ideas, I'd like to hear them. And if you want to donate, all those buttons are accessible below. Playlists and everything you might need, access to the gates to my websites.